Have you ever uncovered a secret so dark it could change everything? This is the story of Elias, a man whose relentless search for the truth led him to a revelation so shocking it might have cost him everything. Stay with us as we unravel the chilling mystery of Project Umbra. Before we dive into the story, let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. Are you listening from home, during your commute, or somewhere else entirely? We'd love to hear where our community's joining us from. It began on a cold, rain-soaked night. The kind of night where the air feels heavy and time seems to slow, leaving the world in restless stillness. Elias sat alone in his small apartment, the dim light of a desk lamp casting flickering shadows across the cluttered room. Outside, the rain drummed steadily against the window, a ceaseless rhythm that matched his uneasy heartbeat. The ringing of his phone shattered the quiet. It startled him. The sharp sound cutting through the muffled hum of the storm. Elias hesitated, staring at the screen, as an unfamiliar number flashed. Something in his gut told him not to answer, but curiosity got the better of him. Slowly, he picked up, pressing the phone to his ear. The voice on the other end was low, almost a whisper, yet it carried an intensity that sent chills down his spine. "Look into Project Umbra," the voice said. No introduction, no explanation. Just those 4 words, spoken with an urgency that made his chest tighten. "Who is this?" Elias asked, his voice unsteady. But the caller had already hung up. For a moment, he sat frozen, the silence in the room feeling heavier than before. He told himself it was probably a prank, a random call meant to unsettle him. But as the hours passed, the words lingered in his mind, circling like vultures over a dying thought. Project Umbra. What was it? Why did the voice sound so desperate? Over the next few days, Elias tried to push it aside, burying himself in his usual routine. But the name wouldn't leave him. It surfaced in his thoughts at odd moments, pulling at the edges of his curiosity. Finally, he gave in. He opened his laptop and typed the words into the search bar. At first, nothing significant appeared, just vague references and scattered conspiracy theories on obscure forums. But the more he dug, the stranger it became. Mentions of government experiments, unexplained disappearances, and shadowy organizations kept cropping up, always tied to the same elusive name. It was like chasing a ghost. The deeper he went, the more fragmented the information became, as if someone had worked hard to erase all traces of it. Elias wasn't sure why he kept going. Maybe it was boredom, or maybe it was the thrill of uncovering something forbidden. Whatever it was, it drove him to spend sleepless nights piecing together the scattered fragments. His desk became a battlefield of papers, sticky notes, and hastily scribbled connections. Every answer he found seemed to raise more questions. One evening, while combing through an old online archive, he stumbled across a name, Marcus Steele, a journalist who had written a series of investigative articles in the late 90s about secret government programs. Steele had vanished under mysterious circumstances, shortly after publishing his final piece. Intrigued, Elias began looking into him, eventually finding an address linked to an abandoned cabin outside the city. The cabin was a relic of the past, its wooden frame sagging under the weight of time and neglect. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the floor creaked under Elias's cautious steps. He found a desk covered in papers, yellowed with age, and a broken typewriter. Among the clutter was a leather-bound journal. Flipping through it, Elias discovered Steele's handwritten notes, detailing his investigation into Project Umbra. The entries were disjointed, filled with frantic scrawls and cryptic references. Steele described experiments conducted on unwilling participants, People taken from the margins of society, those who wouldn't be missed. The goal of these experiments was unclear, but the notes hinted at something terrifying: manipulation of the human mind, the creation of perfect control. Elias felt a chill run down his spine as he read the final entry. It was short, written in shaky handwriting. "They're watching. I've gone too far. If you find this, leave it alone. Some truths aren't worth uncovering, so..." He should have stopped there. Every instinct told him to walk away, to burn the journal and forget what he had read, but he couldn't. The need to know was stronger. Over the next few weeks, Elias followed Steele's trail, piecing together a picture of something far darker than he had imagined. He discovered a list of locations, places tied to Project Umbra. One of them stood out: an abandoned storage facility on the outskirts of the city. It was there that Elias's search took its most harrowing turn. The facility was a decaying structure, its walls covered in graffiti, its windows shattered. Inside, the air was damp and heavy with the scent of mildew. As he moved through the building, Elias felt an overwhelming sense of dread, as if the shadows themselves were watching him. In a back room, he found a locked metal door. It took him nearly an hour to break it open, his hands trembling with both fear and determination. Behind the door was a room that looked like it had been frozen in time. Shelves lined the walls, filled with documents, film reels, and old equipment. Elias began rifling through them. They were reports, detailing experiments conducted on human subjects. The language was clinical, detached, describing unimaginable horrors as mere data points. He found photographs of the subjects, faces twisted in pain, eyes filled with terror. On a dusty table sat a film projector. Elias hesitated, then turned it on. The reel flickered to life, projecting images onto a cracked wall. The footage was grainy, but its content was unmistakable. People locked in cages, subjected to bizarre and inhumane tests. Their screams, though silent in the film, echoed in Elias's mind. He couldn't watch anymore, grabbing as much as he could carry. He fled the building, his heart pounding. But as he stepped outside, he heard footsteps behind him. He wasn't alone. Elias didn't stop to look. He ran through the rain-soaked streets, clutching the stolen evidence. Back in his apartment, he began uploading everything online. He knew he didn't have much time. The world needed to see this, no matter the cost. For a brief moment, it seemed like he had succeeded. The files went viral, sparking outrage and disbelief. But as the world reacted, Elias's life unraveled. One night, his phone rang again. The same voice, colder this time, spoke only 2 words: "They're coming." Moments later, headlights flooded his apartment. Shadows moved outside his door, and the faint sound of boots on the stairs grew louder. Elias knew it was over. He didn't try to run. Instead, he scribbled one last note on the back of a photograph. "The truth lies in the darkness. Beware what you seek." When the door burst open, Elias's story came to an end. What do you think? Was Elias a hero, or just a victim of circumstances? Type hero or victim in the comments below. And do you believe something like Project Umbra could happen in real life? Write yes if you think it's possible, or no if you don't. We'd love to hear your thoughts.